Welcome to Cover Slaves, the show where we play 40k, and sometimes 30k. With me today is Clarence. Tell us about 30k, Clarence.
Well, today we're testing out a format we have under consideration for a potential 30k tournament. And so it's very similar to our 40k format.
Which you've just seen.
Same nature. So we have the whole, you can charge when you come out of reserve / outflank, like non-deep strike reserve, calling it Fear the Flanks. Yeah. The differences though between like the 40k form and the 30k one is scoring. So there's no objective secured 30k. It's like the 30k style. Usually only troops can score. Everything else can contest. No objective secure. Dedicated transports don't get to score from their slots. And we're trying troops plus like heavy support, fast attack, elite for the different scenarios.
And like with the 40k one, that's going to be generated each round. So the first round is just troops,
yeah.
Second is heavy, third is fast attack, fourth is elite.
So unlike the 40k one, it's troops plus, so we're going to have more scoring opportunities, but we're taking away implacable advance, which gives certain units the ability to always score, because
if taking Terminators as troops, they'll still score, but if they're in the lead slot, they won't. Unless it happens to be that scenario.
Yeah, exactly. So it just makes like some options not overwhelmingly powerful, like Terminators. You just take them as elites, and they would score all the time. So why would you not?
And unlike the 40k one, where we probably only see 2-3 troops at most on the list, this you'll probably see 3-4.
Yeah, because troops are still very important, and you're also usually penalized and / incentivized to have a lot of troops in 30k.
I think they handle it a bit more maturely than the formation stuff now, where it's just free everything and do what you want.
However, we're still kind of testing this format out for 30k. If it tends to be too strong or like penalizing, we might just go back to the classic 30k style of only troops get to score. Probably introduce implacable advance back in at that point, just to.
I would just hope we keep Fear the Flanks.
That's definitely
Fear the Flanks.
Enjoying the return to fifth as it was.
Yeah.
Like,
the glory days. It really does make combat like viable if you can get outflanked, or even from your edge. You can counterattack from your edge and then be careful.
Less of a reliable tactic.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree.
Which is like already pretty like viable since we know your deployment edges and that stuff.
Tell us about your new tank.
Oh, the Spartan. So
grab that bitch.
So, first time fully painted on camera.
It is ridiculously huge.
Yeah, it is quite awesome.
I love it.
Like, wreckage in comparison.
The humble Lehman Russ.
We'll see how it does today. It's eating up a large chunk of my points, and I slightly misremembered a fast in my list, so it's.
And today you're running Night Lords, I assume?
Yeah, Night Lords count as Night Lords.
Death Watch count as Iron Warriors for me.
Yeah,
as usual.
Iron Watch.
Death Watch.
Death Warriors.
I did get my guy totally painted, so he's cool. He's that Mechanicus dude with the relic. I'm doing the Void Walker.
Phase Shifter.
Phase Walker. It's like the relic of Dark Age technology.
The Void Shield harness and then the Phase Shifter.
Oh no, I took the harness off because it sucks. Okay. But no, I can basically teleport my dude around, and as long as he's got a line of sight.
Did you take
the Nanite Blaster sucks.
How does it suck?
Because if I don't kill a fucking Marine, it's going to not be useful.
You hit and wound on a 2.
It's a 50-50 chance of hurting one model. It's not very good.
It wounds on a 2.
Yes, and you have a 4+ invul save. That's my
point.
A
normal Marine?
Okay, I was assuming you have Terminators, but anyway. In any case, it's not good. So we're going to be doing 2,000 points, as I said.
Yeah.
And what else? Yeah, we'll talk about our armies for sure.
Terrain for sure,
as always. And what else? That's pretty much it. So we'll see you after terrain and armies and stuff. So as always, we do our long-winded discussion and explanation of terrain. So as you can see, shocker, we're playing in urban environments. So you can imagine we have ruins pretty much everywhere. Why this fine thing over here? That looks to be a ruin of some kind. But look, that would be a ruin there. Ruin here, ruin here, ruin here, ruin here, ruin there, ruin there. Ruins. You can't move through walls. They're impassable. You have to go around. You can move through where there's a door. But again, assuming there's no one on the other side blocking you from moving through. Getting up, you can get up where there's no copings by climbing, difficult terrain, getting a 3, getting up. If there is a coping though, for example, like as you can see there, you can never climb up where there's a coping. You can always hop over it and go down. Bit weird, but it's meant to be defensive. You're only ever going to get cover in any of these ruins provided you have obscurement. If there's nothing blocking you, you're in the open, you're getting shot. We have some area terrain on the board here as well. We've got a couple forests. Again, the impassable kind of happens with the trees. Only stuff that can fit can go through there. If you have a tank, it's probably going around. Also, to even get the cover save, models have to be entirely within there, not just touching, because that's stupid. Any of the low cover you're seeing here, like the sandbags, are 5. Very simple, they're destructible. MCs can just remove them by moving into them. Vehicles, walkers, all that take their danger, so if they pass it, they just pull it. What else can we say? We have some wrecks on the board. Wrecks are as well destructible. They have the same armor value they always would if they were still alive. The difference being any glance or pen simply causes an explosion. If I were to wreck an opponent's vehicle, I could then charge the wreck and blow it up as well. And wrecks for us are impassable until they're exploded. We have an intact truck over here. Sometimes we play this as destructible, but again today this will just be an impassable piece of terrain giving a 4+ cover save. That's pretty much it. So as you can see, we got 5 objectives on the board. We got one right here, one next to the Inquisitor statue over in the courtyard here, one behind the smaller building down there about 6 inches from the table edge, another one right next to the big oil truck behind the big building, and the last one is just inside over here. So 5 objectives total. And yeah, we rolled it, and it looks like heavy support will be getting scoring in addition to troops this round. So good for me, not so good for Clarence. We'll see what happens after deployment in armies and all that stuff. So I got my 2,000 points count as Iron Warriors list here. I've got a Praetor dude with the Warsmith upgrade. He's got a Chain Fist. He's got that Relic, which lets him teleport their Phase Walker. Other stuff, which may be relevant, some kind of combi weapon. Over here, I've got my Iron Havocs. They have 4 las cannons. The Sergeant has a heavy bolter, and Artificer armor, and that array thing, which lets them Augury scanner. 3 rhinos with 3 tac squads there. Basically, Commie Melta on the Sergeant, who as well has melted bombs, and Artificer armor, and that's the same across the board for all 3 units. They also have extra close combat weapons to get their extra attacks, and what's neat is they can rapid fire and charge. They just lose a bonus attack, so that kind of makes up for it. Got my Javelin Tac Speeder over there. He's got the 2 extra 100 kilo missiles, which makes it pretty cool. And he can outflank because he's badass. 2 Deimos Pattern Vindicator Tank Destroyers. They both have a Power of the Machine Spirit, Dozer Blade, and Commie Bolter, just to be badasses. Next to them is a Relic, or not a Relic in this case, a Sakaran tank of some sort. Las cannons on the side, and I think he's got the Dozer Blade of some kind. And last but not least, my Xiphon. He's got the 4+ invul save upgrade against missiles and ground attacking auguries. So yeah, that is 2,000 points, and my Warlord trait is going to be Master of Ambush, or Master of Originality, as we like to call it.
So this is my kind of small-looking 2,000 point Night Lord count as Night Lord army. Up front we have Sevatar, who's my Warlord. He has the Knight Attacker trait, because in our format, half the rounds have guaranteed night fight, the other ones have guaranteed no night fight unless you take this trait. So to leverage the most out of my Rite of War, that gives me a lot of bonuses for night fight, but also puts a lot of restrictions on my list. I'm just going to be taking it all the time to make sure I have these bonuses. So yeah, his Knight Attacker, I have 3 squads of Terror Marines, a squad of 9, squad of 5, and squad of 10, simply because I need to finish another model and a bunch. They all have Volkites and heavy chain blades. This Sergeant has a chain glaive instead of the heavy chain blade, but other than that, all the other Sergeants all have the Artificer armor and the Melted Bomb. It's a classic. I have a Contemptor Dreadnought here with double close combat weapon, double Graviton Fist. He also has extra armor because it sucks when he gets stunned as pure melee, and he has a Dreadnought drop pod behind him. Then we have the Spartan in the middle with the double quad las cannons, so they're twin link 2 shots each. It has auxiliary drive, flare shields, and armored ceramite to keep it classic. And then I have a Xiphon with the ground tracking auguries and the armored cockpit. And yeah, that's my list.
Alright, so Clarence, aka Ski Mask Mohawk, won the roll. but he decided to make me deploy foist, which means I now hold the cards. So I did. So I've got my Havocs up top here. I've got my two Forge World Dynamos Pattern Vindicator tank destroyers there.
Just normal Vindicators in this setting.
Whatever. I've got my Javelin Attack Speeder back there. I've got my Sakaran Battle Tank here. For my infiltrators, I infiltrated up into the corner there with one of my attack squads. So there's 10 minutes on that Rhino. And I also infiltrated all the way over here with my HQ. So he's just lurking in there hoping to hunt some sort of big tank possibly. And now we'll go to reserves. Alright, so I've got my Xiphon in reserve, as you can see. And then I've got two outflanking attack squads as well.
For my deployment, went second. Deploy my Spartan with Sevatar inside because everyone else gets infiltrate or some other method of being deployed. And then for infiltrators, I infiltrated 10-man squad over here onto this objective, and then everything else is in reserve. So for my reserves, I have these guys outflanking, these guys in normal reserve, this coming in normal reserve, and this coming in turn 1. So here's me, probably not going to steal the initiative, but no, very unsuccessful. What a surprise.
End of Iron Warriors watch turn 1. I didn't get the initiative stolen on me, so that's good. Starting over here. These guys didn't move at all to take advantage of their ability, which lets them shoot 3 shots apiece. They each shot 3 shots at Clarence's, I'm always going to forget the name. What's it called, Clarence?
It's a Spartan.
Spartan Assault Tank. So they each just shot 3 times, and I got a couple 6s.
Got 2 6s, actually.
He has
Very
that
good.
flare shield, so he made his 3+ cover, night fight. Moving on down, the guys that infiltrated got out of their Rhino and then ran a couple inches to try and get into the ruin. Nothing crazy there. My Iron Havocs up top here, all engaged again with the Spartan Assault Tank, and I think I cost 1 hull point, so not terrible. Needing 6s as always. My Sakaran just turned on the spot and engaged with Clarence's. These are Butcher squads?
They're Terror
squads. I think I killed the 2 guys.
Yep.
Not terrible. The Javelin also engaged with them, but didn't luck out. Clarence made his saves. And the only other thing was my leader that was right about down here used his Void ability and phase through terrain Phase Walker all the way over here. So I passed my Dangerouses that I have to take for passing through the walls, and there he waits. So we will see you at the end of Night Lord's turn 1.
So this is bottom of Night Lord's turn 1. Starting over here, my Dreadnought came in from reserves automatically, as it's want to do. You may notice there is no draw pod around it because the Iron Havocs with their Augury Scanner intercepted it. Even with the 4+ cover I was getting, because the plus and from the night fight got cancelled out by their init minus. I still, 1 ping got through, he rolled the explode, so he got first blood off of that. However, the Dreadnought did shoot 2 Graviton blasts. They're centered here for movement purposes. Doing 2 hull points to the now wreck and 1 hull point to the other one, so that was pretty good. Moving on over to the Spartan, it shot either Vindicator, so the 1 Sponson snap fired at this one and missed, and the remaining Sponsons full ballistic skill powered the machine spirited the other Vindicator and killed that one, so that's a nice victory, I guess, for that. And over here, these guys just tried to move into cover a bit. They ran a nice little extra bonus inch from my Rite of War. And yeah, we'll see what happens on turn 2.
End of turn 2 for the Deathwatch, aka Iron Warriors. Starting over here. These guys didn't go anywhere because there was that circle from the grav gun thing. This guy came in off the outflank from reserves and shot out of the top there with a melt-a-gun. I think I did a hull point.
Yeah, and you blew his arm off.
Blew his arm off. So he's still alive, and he can still very much assault me. This Javelin moved up, fired everything. I think he whiffed. My Xiphon came in from reserve, moving about 19 inches and engaging him. Whiff again, unfortunately. The guys up here couldn't shoot because they intercepted his pod, so they didn't do very much. Moving back behind you there, those guys ran and got up into the terrain, and then the Rhino went and kind of blocked it off a bit. So they're just trying to hold that objective. Moving towards the center of the table, my leader climbed up, attempted an 12-inch charge, but couldn't pull it off, so he's stuck there. Sakaran moved up 6 to get a better line of sight on the guys in here, and I shot and I killed another 2, but they didn't run. My other reserve came in on this flank, basically just moved 12 and then another 6 to go right up to that objective. And yeah, so with the shooting from these guys, I put one other hull point on Clarence's super tank, but he's still got 3 hull points left. And that's pretty much it. We'll see you at the end of Night Lord's turn 2.
This is the end of Night Lord's turn 2. Starting over here, I moved my Dreadnought up to attack his land speeder. I shot the Graviton blast at him. He managed to jink. And then I went to charge him in combat. And I only hit once, and I mobilized it. So at least it's not screwing around at the end of the game. Moving on over here, I moved up and charged his Sakaran with my Terror Squad. I had paid for heavy chain blades to make up some points. So they all had that to glance on 6s. I got 1 glance from that. And a pen from the Melta Bomb, which ended up being shaken because he has extra armor. Moving down over here, there's no more Sevatar on top. He had disembarked, moved up, and challenged his Warlord to a duel. And after getting all his precognition off, so I managed to roll 3 6s to run through his armor and cause an instant death on all of his attacks because Sevatar in duel gets that. So that was really good. The Spartan, after moving 6 to disgorge Sevatar out, just moved and shot his last remaining Tankus, the Vindicator. So that was nice. It exploded, didn't really do anything to anything else. The Xiphon came in from reserve, shot his Xiphon who opted to jink, and got one of the penetrating rockets through. Immobilized him. He did not crash and burn, but is locked velocity for his next turn. And then the second of my 3 reserves, and these were the only foot guys that came in. They came in from my edge here, moved up, killed a couple with shooting, got the charge off. He failed the first of the 13 saves on his 2+ armor saves, so the rest got through. Only killed a total of 3, including the sergeant though, so it wasn't too bad. Except he did fail his leadership test that got ran down by Night Lords. So it was a pretty decisive turn 2 for me, looking pretty good, but we'll see what turn 3 has in store.
So it's the end of Iron Warriors Death Watch turn 3. Starting over here. My Xiphon that was here and that had jinked flew off the table. These guys moved out 6. He threw a lone crack grenade into the back there, near the bolters, and put the last hull point on Clarence's Dreadnought. He's still alive, just very immobilized. The guys up here fired everything into Clarence's tank there, and unfortunately just didn't do anything. It's a tough tank. Back here, I backed up out of combat 6 inches and snap-fired everything at these guys, which reminds me, I'll pull that now. And unfortunately didn't do anything there either, so not the luckiest of turns. Moving back over here, my outflanking Rhino boosted up another 18 to hopefully next turn shoot that guy in the bum. Clarence's dude's still lurking in here though, so I have to be careful. That's mostly it. This Rhino actually took a pot shot and killed one of the Terror Squads, so that was cool. The other Rhino attempted to, but didn't really pull anything off there. So, not a terrible game. I have First Blood, but Clarence has Warlord, so we'll see what happens at the end of Clarence's turn 3.
So this is the end of Night Lord turn 3. My reserves did not come in again, so they'll be coming in next turn. My Xiphon chose to fly off the board because I couldn't really get a good angle on anything, and also his Xiphon's coming on next turn, so I didn't want to get shot at. Starting over here, my guys initially shot at his Rhino, did a hull point from the Volkites, and then charged to finish it off. Over here with the Spartan, it backed up, pivoted because there's not enough space in the narrow alley to pivot normally. Shot at the Rhino, did I believe 2 hull points worth of damage. Sevatar threw a crack grenade at the Rhino and charged it to kill it with prescience up. And then over here I charged and killed his Sakaran in combat. So pretty decent. Not too much left for Death Watch / Iron Hands, but we'll see what happens on their turn 4.
That is the end of Iron Warriors, aka Death Watch, turn 4. Starting right here. My Xiphon came back in from ongoing, strafed the guys that were fighting the Sakaran, would kill the Sakaran, and I took out 4 out of 5, so very good there, happy. Clarence elected not to go to ground because he's smart, and he did not run. These guys up here put the killing blow finally on Clarence's mega vehicle.
5 out of 6 dice rolling 6s.
Yes, it was the highest 6 dice rolling of all time. Total bullshit. But I'm thankful for that. In addition, these fine young gentlemen here were about to Fury the Legion, which would mean all of them shooting twice with their rapid fire, I believe. But didn't even need to, because the sergeant shot his combi melta, and one shot its, what's his name there? Sevatar. And Sevatar failed his focals involved, so thankfully for that. Moving along over there, nothing up in there, sorry. Here, Buddy moved up another 6. Really, he can't score anything, he's just kind of moving around. These guys moved and ran, so they're trying to get to that objective. It'll be interesting to see who gets that. And other than that, I believe that's pretty much it for the turn. So things are swinging my way, I believe. We'll see you at the end of Night Lord's turn 4.
Xiphon came in from reserve, the ongoing. Flew on here to engage his Xiphon, activated Skyfire as you have to at the start of your shooting phase, and I shot at him. Hit with both the last cannons. He failed one of his 3+ jinx from Agile, and it died because it had no more hull points. So that was good. Moving on over here, and my reserves, they finally came in, outflanked on that side. Now my plan was to shoot them and then charge. However, their shooting was a bit too effective and I killed half the squad from it, which put the charge range to like 11 inches, which I failed. Then I charged with my lone duder, hoping to swoop them up in combat as they're quite effective against infantry. He did kill the sergeant, but sadly failed one save of his own, and so did not produce the win I wanted from that. And that's it for now, and see you guys at the end of Iron Warriors turn 5.
The end of turn 5 for the Death Watch, aka Iron Warriors, which is my last turn of the game. In the tournament format, we only go 5 turns. Starting over here. Land Speeder didn't have a shot because it was blocked with the multi-melta, but did get a shot off with the missiles, killing 2. The Iron Havocs threw all their fire here. The Heavy Bolter was saved, but I took out a couple more, or 3 more, I think, with last cannons.
Yep.
So 5 went down there. My squad that was here moved and ran to be like near that objective, hopefully hold it. Moving down over here, my guys moved and ran just to spread out to get both line breaker and score that objective. And he moved up 12 to be there just to have block off shots. Yeah, that was pretty much it for my turn 5. We'll see you at the end of Night Lord's turn 5.
This is end of the game at the bottom of Night Lord turn 5. I have my guys here. They stayed on their objective. Moving on up over here, these guys moved to try and get some shots at his objective holders. Sadly, the line of sight wasn't too optimal, and got 1 shot, made a save. And then the Xiphon moved up to hopefully blow up this Karen and do more casualties on that squad. Unfortunately, only lost 1, and because he's Iron Warriors, he doesn't take morale from shooting, so it's very useful for ending these, holding these objectives at the end of the game. So as the result, he has this objective here, and the objective back there for 6 points, and then he has Warlord and Linebreaker and First Blood because of the intercept. To my 3 points, Warlord and Linebreaker, so it puts him 9 to my 5. And for our format, you need 1 to 4 points ahead of your opponent's a minor. 5 is the major victory, so we've got a minor in that. And yeah, we'll go over more in the post-game show.
Welcome to the post-game show. As always, I'm Crabblesworth with Clarence, aka Ski Mask Mohawk.
A.K. Clarence.
A.K. Clarence. Yes, you just watched us play 5 turns of 30K. Let's dive right in. Clarence, what was your MVP?
Good question. I think it would probably be the Terror Squad who came in from the table edge. Or Sevatar. They were both cool.
Like 1 casualty.
They were both cool, yeah. Yeah, they came in, they like killed some of the shooting, they like murdered the rest in combat, like held them down, like stabbed them.
I was impressed with that.
It was good. Sevatar was cool too. He butchered the character in combat.
Just knife to the face.
Yeah.
Just like, fuck you. Epic fail.
Epic fail was probably guys who got delayed until turn 4.
Yeah.
It was the combination.
The downside
of
of
turn 4. They like wish they came in over here.
That would have changed things.
And they were too good with their shooting, unfortunately, in that
Yeah.
phase. Like it was the sweet spot of annoying shooting. It's like they could have killed more to like make my guy not fail that one save in combat, but they could have killed less to be able to charge better. So
Listen to me.
yeah,
Crabblesworth, what was your MVP? I thank you, Crabblesworth. I'm gonna go with Iron Havocs.
for sure. They're a golden unit. They're so good.
Even like the sixes were absurd to begin with, even early in stages.
But yeah, the first turn you got 2 6s with your 4 shots. Like
Getting first blood with them was nice. No question there.
that too.
They have something within 18 inches. You get Interceptor, but only against deep strikers, which we love the nuance of Forge Rule. They kind of think about rules a little more than the Jervises of the world. But yeah, man, that was definitely it. That was just the coolest unit.
Yeah, laying down like wounds left and right, like
It just -1 to cover as well.
tank hunters.
You have night vision or night fight, but it's just like a little bit better.
Yeah.
A little up to you.
Yeah, the tank hunter is great too, hunting for 6s.
I forgot about it, to be honest. I'm like, oh yeah, I have
A couple turns actually, yeah, a couple turns.
Totally-
oh yeah,
totally
and then like
forgot.
other turns we just like
It's like the Dymos too. I forgot their ordnance, so it's like it basically is.
yeah.
tank hunter.
It's
Same
unfortunately
difference.
like I've noticed this a couple times.
It's better
with
than
some
tank hunter.
30K stuff is it's like an overload of special rules. You're like, oh
Yeah.
there's like
Yeah,
you,
you're given
you
so
remember
much.
most of them, but there's like always like the kicker. You're like, oh shit, there's like one more thing I could have done.
Which is why you should practice. Practice, love of God, practice.
But it happens a lot with my Raven Guard stuff. It's the
There's a lot going on.
there's so much synergy in that list. It's like, and this gives me this and that and this other thing gives me like these 2 other rules and these guys like do this like.
Yeah, and especially there's sometimes you look at a Forge Rule thing and it's just like there's like a box underneath a stat line that you're like,
I had to make a cheat sheet for the Raven Guard. I'm like, these 3 things happen before the game begins.
yeah, you got
this
it.
game, like this rule gives me like this pregame thing. This gives me another. Like I get to choose like 2
Yeah.
targets to mark. Like preferred enemy against all ICs. Like there's many things.
it is funny though when you realize afterwards, like, oh, I could have killed that.
Yeah.
Fuck. My epic fail was HQ.
Yeah.
No question. He did nothing. He phased through several walls and then attempted an 11-inch charge on your giant tank of doom. Did not get that, and then Sevatar just ran up and ice picked him in the face. And it was just like, you know. I really, of all the characters to be fighting, I should be fighting Sevatar because instant death is instant
Yeah,
death.
he's one of the best dual characters.
He's like the character assassin. Overall thoughts on the game? 2 minutes or less, Cars.
Well, I think it was a pretty good back and forth game. Definitely came down to the turn 4 devastation drop of the Iron Warriors and their many 6s.
That was a lucky turn for him.
Super useful. Like I lost both like my midfield presence in that.
Yeah.
But other than that, like with the scenario,
It's tight. I mean, there's 3 objectives.
well, no, like you had 7 scoring units in that
Yeah,
scenario.
tier 4.
Because it was heavy support and he was using the Iron Warrior Red of War, which gave him an extra heavy support. Like made the list before we knew which scenario we were playing.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's not like, oh yeah, I want to play the most optimal one for me. No, it was random, and the Red of War I use only allows me to have 1 heavy support, so it gets a bit tricky sometimes when it's
Yeah.
like, oh shit, like my list.
But
But
you have to load the units too with stuff you don't necessarily want.
yeah, it's just, but that's more of on me because I need to rebase my Terminators. But even having that into account, the fact that it was so close up until turn 4.
Yeah.
And it was still only a minor victory.
No, I didn't get 5 on you.
Shows that like it was a good game. It was close. Played pretty fast. We did have to take a break because it was so hot.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the outflankers like proving to be very deadly like usual. Definitely bringing back to 5th where it's like, okay, yeah, I got the outflank, like they're here. It's like, oh
love
shit,
it.
like gotta like you're like you came in off the flanks. I really wanted them to come that turn and like rampage through them, and you're like moving further away. You're like, yeah, no, get away from them.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely useful.
Definitely. I'll keep mine short. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. Played really fast. It was a good indication of the kind of game where even if we did like roll 6 or 7, like I guess the Siphon may have had like one chance to do a gun run or two, but realistically, I don't think it changed it. That's not every game, mind you. Some games totally like you could go till 7.
Yeah.
But this definitely wasn't one of them. I think it was neat. I'm glad we tried out the format, because our format for 30K, 40K is very similar. It's the same missions essentially, just a little bit different. But.
The only, I guess, at the moment, real difference is that a number of units can't score.
Period. Yeah, they can only contest. They cannot score.
That includes all dedicated transports bought for, even if they are bought for your troop unit plus like extra, means they can't get line breaker or.
Yeah, that's true.
Counter or babysit objectives. They can counter objective push as always, but you can't just like draw pod or like Rhino detached like get 2 with the same.
Yeah, you definitely have to think a lot harder when you make your list for this. 40K is on easy mode with everything scoring. Not that there's anything necessarily wrong with that. It's a different vibe for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, that we're still kind of debating at length whether to like, allow implacable advance, and Ben's made some really good points of why it doesn't really matter too much for this format. Whether, like, I don't know, this game wasn't really a great test game to see if the format worked, because all of our heavy support died pretty fast or just wasn't in relevant positions.
I've kind of figured like I want them near objectives, but I was not there yet.
So I guess surprisingly, considering there was 5 heavy support slots, like
not a single one held objective. So.
Yeah, they were all dead or
3 out of 4 dead, and the one that I had was up in a building.
So like I guess it is ironic that like we had such good potential to test that and it just didn't.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing too. It's nice to have a vehicle scoring, but it's a vehicle is one model and it's either alive or dead.
Yeah.
So it's like it's very binary, just one or the other.
Yeah. So having said that, like, I still would like to see like how frustrating like a multiple like, for example,
maxing out how many scoring units.
Last time we played, we rolled the elite.
Yeah.
We rolled. I think it was elites, and you had none, and I had 1 in my list, and we decided not to do it just because it was pretty brainless. It was like I would hold my dreadnought back onto an objective, and you'd have to like try and get to it.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is like because we're not playing kill points or other than the obvious secondaries. Like it's when I looked at that, I'm like, what would I do? It changes psychology, and there's literally no benefit for me holding back with anything. At the same time, like you need one objective to keep really like there's nothing I can do for the most part.
Having said that, like
you could literally put the entire army in one objective and be like, well, just like get to it or not.
Using that as an example is like a scenario or a mission we played where it like did actually have like an impact of like, oh shit, like I do have to deal with this stuff or otherwise I'm fucked. Like is like I would like to see if that comes up, like if it's like, oh, we got the fast attack one and like I'm kind of fucked because like your Red of War isn't big on fast attack.
We can be certain of those no matter what, at least 2 troop choices will be scoring. So it'll still be 2 to nothing. And that makes all the difference. If that was the case in that game, just for sake of argument, let's say I had two elites or whatever. Yeah, at least then it's like, okay, I can hold maybe 1 or 2 objectives somewhere near my zone. Maybe going, 1-1, but it's, like it's, you're obviously going to take a lot of risk there. I just hate that when there's no ability to score literally in terms of the game other than Linebreaker, Warlord, First Blood, those are all very different things with varying difficulties of getting them. And it still doesn't matter because you hold 1 fucking objective and we're tied again, right? So it's like, that's kind of going back to the 40k v 30k of like scoring with everything, scoring with some things. I like both systems. I actually feel the benefit with a 30k is it's more decisive. Like we're gonna know fairly early on where it's going. Yeah. Whereas 40k you can't quite peg it because like you've got that one grot left or that one dude left. You can like somehow roll double ones, get back and get on an objective you didn't see coming. Well, there's always a little bit of what ifs. It's more regional once you get spread out with objectives in 40k. 30k, it's very decisive. I'll say that much.
Yeah, it's generally decided within the first.
2 or 3
turns, yeah.
Which can happen in 40k as well.
However, in like normal 30k, not our format, it's also a lot easier to prevent the win. Not so not necessarily to come back, but at least to go for the tie by killing their scoring units out.
Well, it's always worth mentioning too that it's a win-lose-draw game regardless. So we're adding ingredients no matter what for victories. Yeah. So like no matter what, we're making minor, major, whatever. But people get pretty obsessed with that. At least we're not doing the gotta catch 'em all Pokemon. That's what makes me happy. There's not like a massive VP spread that you have to a million things to keep track of.
Yeah.
Like, I washed my ass. Here's a VP. Like
definitely, when each like you have primary, secondary. Now a lot of people doing tertiary too.
Oh God, it's just like a lot of shit.
It's not like okay, well I got X amount of points through a combination of all three through the game compared to my opponent's total. What are we comparing now? It's like, oh well, I got you by 1 in primary, so I got a major in primary. I got you by 1 or like 2 in secondary, so it's a major there, and then like.
I hate that.
I did or did not get like the tertiaries, so like, that's the result there. And it's like yeah.
To me, it's just like. We can do a million ways of scoring in 40K. People seem to like kill points. I don't because it's a numbers game. It's like one grot, one landmaker. Like if there's a better way, we all miss the old victory points, which was just points. Now that's again doing individual guys is the problem. Like maybe the simplest way is just like you have to kill the whole unit. There's one guy left. Just, you don't tally the first 9. You just don't do it.
I think how they used to do was it was half points. If your unit was like got below half, you got half the points for the unit.
Yeah, the only problem again with half points is it's like there's still those weird units where the sergeant is like 10 times. You know what I mean? Like you might have it sounds easy on the get go, then it's not.
No, it's not like I got half. Like my sergeant's alive, so you don't get his points. It's like total unit point cut in half.
Yeah, no, but just what's half of 87? You get what I'm saying, right? You have to round up, round down. That's not hard to say which one you do, but it just you have to have a simple. It's just to give some indication of percentage, even if it's half or 25 or whatever. That pretty much covers. Was there anything else more for 30K you want to talk about?
But kind of not so much an issue. But we have to decide how we wanted the phase walker to work.
We weren't able to find the relic stuff, so
we didn't have the rules on hand for this game for it. However, regardless of what the rules are going to say, I think the issue is how do we want it to work? Because right now, like how I'm pretty sure it works is for every solid piece of terrain you go through, or every solid object you phase through when you don't have line of sight on your destination. It forces a dangerous turn.
Yeah, it's just the problem is there's logics there you're doing intrinsically that don't exist. What I mean simply is this is one object, whether it has a million walls or whatever. Like you get my point, right?
Go into a semantic debate about how many objects.
Right, sure.
But that's
what I'm saying essentially is like whether it's one object or not.
I think the actual issue is how many dangerous terrain tests you want to force on a model with 2+ armor with multiple wounds, where it's like I move through like 8 objects and it's like okay, well I have like 8 dangerous terrain tests and then like X amount of armor saves to make after that. It's like oh look, nothing.
Well, that was my main point, right? I'm
exactly. That was like the core issue, not really how many tests you have to take, but it's just like how much time you want.
It's the old bias of like well obviously I don't want something negatively to affect me, but when I looked at it I'm like okay, it's not that I have a problem taking 17 dangerous terrain chests. It's just like we're rolling all of this to still get like at most a wound on me, so it's like until we're up to let's say 12, is it really going to affect me? Right? Until I'm doing it 12 times.
So there's that.
It's more because it's not like it slows me down really, right? I'm still where I am as long as I'm not dead. So same difference. But yeah, the reason I was asking is because we usually cuts out, so I want to like start it and stop it again before it cuts out. So we'll be talking about 40K next, I guess.
I think so.
Welcome back. I believe it's now time to talk about 40K and shit talk or something.
Shit talk 40K.
Shit talk 40K. It's a new segment, shit talk 40K.
Yeah.
I'll let you start.
I don't know. Where to start is a good question. I don't know. Well, we were talking about the format, and I think you've played a format game more recently in 40K than I have.
It was fun. Me and Nugas, Jason enjoyed ourselves. His list is incredible. It's really, really, really good. Not a shocker, it's Tau, but The benefit, I think, for both of us is it plays fast. He had 30... No, I had 30 models. He had 41 models. Like, it...
Yeah, that is...
You know, we have 2 troops each. Mm-hmm. That's maybe unfortunate, but, like... Let's be honest, with the way 40k is going with the apophication, everyone and their mom has OS now. So, if anyone's trying to claw it back,
that'll...
Like, you know...
I can segue into my...
Yes.
Story.
Take it away, sir.
So, I've had 2 games in the last week, both last Sunday on, you can actually see them on OnePlus Armor, that channel by Logan, aka Gillette. And the first game I played was my first experience against the Marine style detachment.
Which one was that?
It's the Dark Angels, I think it's called the Lion's Blade or something similar to that. And it was their double...
Gives you free stupid shit, right?
It was the double battle company to form like your Voltron amalgamation end result, which was 20 objective security units.
Completely reasonable.
I believe it was 20.
At 1850?
With a bonus, I think 230 points in there as
totally
well.
It helps you W stop.
It was challenging, to say the least.
I was just so.
You know, like, to be fair, I was playing a pretty bad list. It was basically my 30k Night Lords count as normal Chaos Space Marines with a pretty, like, inefficient spread. Like, there's like Abaddon, there was like Plasma Chosen.
Abby's a badass though.
There was like the Sakaran loaded up with like Malefic Ammo, just like 40 points for like to make the Heavy Bolter Rending. There's the Spartan in its first appearance. Unpainted though, so it's not its first true appearance. It's kind of like a cameo. And that was loaded down with stuff too. It was kind of a silly list. And not very conducive to like 4 objectives or how many there were.
Yeah.
But definitely not good against 20 objective secured units.
You just have to kill everything basically.
Oh, it was rough. Like, especially like Abaddon turned into a spawn or a Demon Prince right away, which didn't help his survivability for sure. Like, it just went down the drain.
Yeah, because he's already a small Demon Prince in a way, except without flying.
Yeah, he's just less resilient than a flying Nurgle one, but like better than any other type. Yeah. So it definitely didn't help. There was like 1 or 2 mislucks going on there towards the end of the game, but like it's an uphill battle for sure against any Decurion-esque.
And that was a Maelstrom scenario, right?
It was an ITC style. List building and kind of scoring.
Yeah.
So it was like normal mission primary and then like modified Maelstrom for the secondary that like gain points every round. Not quite as random. There was still some there's some things that I would prefer not have it. Like, I don't mind this, like, oh, be on objective 1, be on objective 2. It's like, okay, you're probably going to be close and or near to the objectives. Anyways, there's my like eternal displeasure comes from basically have 3 units in your deployment zone without any enemy units. It's essentially line breaker.
Yeah.
And against like the best armies like Eldar, Necrons, Space Marines, who have some very fast moving, like high damage stuff, they're always going to be in your deployment zone. And it's just...
Well, it's not just that. It's the old story of just equating things at a certain amount of VP you're scoring that are not the same difficulty.
No, it's like just on like the normal level. It's like you're playing against a decent Space Marine list. They're going to have a like drop pod. For sure. And it's going to be in your zone. Pretty...
Maybe even have 2 of them with Devastators in them and
possibly
Assault in some kind of formation.
Two units of Assault Marines.
Kind of force.
Like Eldar with like jet bikes or deep striking falcons or wave serpenting Wraith Guard. Yeah. Or Necrons with Wraiths. Like many things to get up in your zone. So that to me is the more frustrating one because it's kind of like a no-brainer. It's if any of you guys played BFG back in the day, it was like rolling...
That's Battlefield Gothic.
Yeah, it was rolling like the escape scenario
Oh,
when Eldar were the ones trying to escape, and it's like, well, it looks like they win it. Like I can't catch them, and they're the best for it.
I remember playing that. I show up thinking I'm gonna do like Cruiser Clash or like this is my first
Or
game.
like
really.
loser clash for all the BFG elitists.
I just like like I don't know anything. And everyone's playing a campaign and I'm not part of it. And it was just like, no, we have to roll for our scenarios. Like we can't just choose them. No, we must roll for our scenarios. And of course, like August has like twice the numbers I do, and he's chasing me off the map and like.
Your
he's
orcs?
got Lance. It's my orcs, yeah. He's got Lance
your
frigates,
orcs
so
are
I'm just.
running like.
I'm like, oh, it's a Jervis Johnson scenario. We told the story of like how you're awesome and I suck. That was very fun. I can't wait to do that again. It was historical, which means it sucks, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, that was definitely like Jervis Johnson-esque writing right there. Hi, Jervis. I know you're watching. We love you.
But
Well, I kind of trailed off there. What were we talking about?
we were talking about Maelstrom ITC.
Yes, ITC and Maelstrom.
So the first
ITC.
game I had that day was against the Lion's Blade. I got defeated, sadly. Honest Abe turned into a Demon Prince.
Honest Abe.
Yeah. Second game was against Tao, against Logan himself, and it was definitely less frustrating in the sense that he was playing 1850, and he had.
Oh, he didn't have 3 points.
No, Tau don't have access to that yet. Remember?
Unless they take an ally.
Yeah. Well, no, you don't take an ally detachment. You just take a separate, like, X detachment.
Just
like,
it's apocalypse. I get it.
Yeah. So he also had a sane amount of objective secured units.
Oh, okay.
And that was kind of a shit show too, because it turned out to be kill points. Again, not our most preferred.
No.
But just it was kill points on the Maelstrom, so it was kind of like one special brand of mission. It's like the kind of like food you only get when you're really drunk.
Who wins the lottery?
Yeah, I don't know. It turned out to be not me again.
Yeah.
But again, like
You just have to get better
I don't really
randomly
know.
being gifted points.
I had a pretty inefficient list, and like kill points was pretty much like the best like I could have gotten. But like the
really?
Maelstrom was like every turn I got like. Don't have him in your deployment zone. He just has like this infiltrating Shadow Sun Death Star that's like in my zone. I can't do anything about it because they're just like so resilient and like they like flee 3d6 or they jump the 3d6 because that's Shadow Sun's trait, right? So it's like I can't catch them. They're staying in the zone. I just roll it almost every turn. I'm like I can't fucking do it. Did fuck up. So on towards the end of the game with how I moved my stuff to make it. I could have made it a tie very easily. I just didn't.
That's on you. Obviously.
Yeah, obviously on me. But yeah, that was experience with primarily the lines, the new detachments.
Yeah, detachments.
Like, I don't get it either because they came out when 7th first was released. Like orcs, you have your orc detachment. It gave you an extra slot or two. Made you take a couple like compulsory HQs. I think that's what it was. Space Wolves again switched up your slots. The understanding was going to be like, okay, so the detachment's going to be what you have to take to like get your like elites as troops or your fast attack troop, like whatever, like you know.
There's a method to the madness. You might
whatever you used to be able to do with your old book, like you take your Wolfguard as troops now. Like instead of taking Logan, you take his like detachment or whatever.
It's just funny to think the old system.
And then like Blood Angels released, still kind of followed that. You can get Death Company as troops unless you did like the weird.
Now there was some differences there because that's where they reintroduced assaulting out of deep striking reserves. And then
only
free weapons
was
on
for
guys
formation.
Too,
the free
right?
weapons on guys.
I tend to confuse the two.
The free weapons on guys I'm not too sure about.
Yeah, I think it's weird. It's something like free power ups on it. I believe it was the Death Watch, not Death Watch.
Death Company.
Death Company.
Okay,
it
so
was something to do with that. It was very
may
specific.
have been that. Anyway,
it's not that
radar.
broken, but...
Slipped on the radar enough for it not to like.
Yeah.
And then they came out with Codex Space Marine. Like, Necrons was the first big like
the Decurion
bump in power. The Decurion just like really is like, ooh, like okay, this is a bit odd, like definitely very strong.
But I'm sure no one in the marketing department had any involvement at all.
But it only started getting like off the rails, I want to say, with the Space Marine release. Not only did they like...
Well, in fairness, I'd say the Eldar than the Space Marine.
Well, I'd say the Space Marine's worse because you don't get free stuff as Eldar.
You do.
Do you?
It's, again, you're taking units that have, like, in a lot of cases gotten better, cheaper, and then you're getting extra stuff. Now, again, it's not to the degree, but again, you're getting stuff like, for example, my dudes are higher weapon skill or ballistic skill of my choice.
Those are
interesting.
Formations.
Okay, well, I get the two differences.
Yeah, the detachment itself does give you a bonus, but it doesn't give you, like, explicit access to, like...
I'm talking about them entirely. Like, I'm talking about formations more, but yeah. So
yeah, I'm talking about detachments, which is the more accepted of the two, in general. And then the Space Marine detachment, the Gladius Strike Force, I think it's called, where you just get overwhelmingly, like, many more points.
Yeah, it's like, it's easy to go, well, not everyone owns 1 million pods or Razorbacks or Rhinos. But some do. Some people did play APOC and did have like 10 Rhinos or Razorbacks or pods, and then it's fucking ridiculous.
And not only did that, like, where they introduced you get free as long as you own models. They also,
a brilliant marketing idea.
They also kept, exclusively for Codex Space Marines, the ability to unlock bikers as troops.
Yeah, just because.
That was quite weird. Like, they didn't keep that for Blood Angels. Blood Angels, like, they're fast ahead. Like, all their assault marines got the shaft completely. Like,
totally.
Without mercy, they were held down. Like,
there's always our format.
And then Codex Space Marines, they just broke the mold. I don't think Dark Angels, well, they did continue with the free stuff trend. They didn't get their Terminators or Bikers as access to troops. The argument there is, you get the formation. Not everyone likes formations or wants to play with them. It's the sad story. Especially the Deathwing one. Like, I have a friend, Nick. He has an old Deathwing army. He can't play it now because he automatically loses. He doesn't. He has a fully functioning guard army.
He has a White Scars army.
He has
a White Scars army. He'll run them as White Scars. Like, if he wants to win.
Deathwing.
Sorry. Okay. My problem. My bad.
Yes. Yeah. But I think the only way for him to play it is as the Strike Force Ultra formation. Having to count as Ultramarines to play his Dark Angels.
I personally wouldn't care.
It's like a kick in the pants, right? It's like, so like not only do I not like be able to play my army that I invested money in that's been this way for like many editions, but like to only like kind of be able to play it, I have to play it as not my own book. The one that was like Dark Angels were the Terminator army, right? Like there's
I've learned a little bit myself, but it's unfortunate because there's no real alternatives for that, very much so, other than the obvious. My thing is, again, I will always confuse formations and formations, attachments, and all those things. My problem is just when you look at them, everyone was saying, look at all these 7th Ed books. Look, they're toning them down.
They were toning them down. There
wasn't a lot of crazy. You know what I mean? Like the Dark Eldar, the Orcs, okay.
No, you look at them, like, Orcs got fucked.
They did in context to everything else.
Yeah, in context to their old book.
Yes.
Dark Eldar got a lot of options taken away from their old book. If you're just looking at the normal, the combined arms detachment, and like their access to options.
I won't cry any tears, but
they did get a lot taken away. They got a lot of their personality stripped down. A lot of the interesting war gear options and selections got taken out. Grey Knights, a lot of it got streamlined as well. They took away a bunch of...
bringing everything out for the Inquisition Codex was like a badly...
Not only that, they changed a lot of the units themselves. They took away all their like unique powers, and now it's like, everything draws from Sanctic Demonology.
Blandification.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something to be said about the Purifiers and like each squad having its own like individual power that you can get in. I found it interesting, at least. But they also took away like the Ghost Knights and Mordorak. I know a lot of people had pretty cool conversions, paint schemes for that.
Yeah,
that's got the axe.
Just because you don't sell a model, that's fucking dickish.
Space Wolf stuff was the kind of like where it dipped upwards again. I guess. With
all those flying transports that are dedicated, the shoes. The strength 10 or assumedly strength 10 wolf thing.
To be honest, I really don't know how Space Wolf functioned that well.
Blood Angels got kind of a shaft as well, again with the aforementioned Assault Marines not being troops or being able to score, neither could Death Company, both things which were like...
Okay. As always, we hit a 4 gigabyte limit there. It probably cut out, but we were talking about like, you know, you can have the quickest release schedule all you want, but it's doesn't change how much money I have to spend on models. So it's nice that there's something new every week. It doesn't mean I can afford it or want it. And the other problem is you're ruining the investment in the books.
Oh.
And as the point you made with the Mordrak guys and all that stuff, you're ruining the investment in the models because if, fuck, God help me, I paint something that all of a sudden next book is not even a thing anymore because you didn't make a model for it. Fuck you. Like, that stuff's
Because they
horrifying.
lost their shit lawsuit, like...
Yeah, basically.
Basically.